Breaking news today. My only defense against the therapists in Ukraine is my intellect. The 45-year-old argues that anger equals energy for action, and can help us protect personal boundaries, making this a healthy reaction. She works as a therapist in Ukraine during the conflict with Russia, and while she is able to help her clients cope with their feelings of loss, guilt, anger, fear, isolation, and helplessness, she is not immune to these emotions herself. Since then, she and a group of about a dozen others have been meeting bi-weekly via Zoom, with the help of a Ukrainian translator named Max, to provide mutual support and receive free clinical supervision from two therapists based in London, provided that the participants' respective Wi-Fi networks permit such meetings. The most difficult thing has been the prolonged, full-scale threat of death, says Svetlana Koval, 47, who is also a therapist. She had to leave her hometown and her mother behind when she moved to Odessa because of the war. Svetlana speaks to her mother on a regular basis, and although her mother has family and friends who care about her, Svetlana always leaves their conversations feeling dejected. Svetlana gets through it with the help of her hobbies, therapy, and coping mechanisms. I've been ballroom dancing for 2 years, she proudly proclaims. But it's a small town, and there aren't that many men there. Many have been compelled to serve in the armed forces. The therapists all agree that little pleasures are essential in trying times. Like people all over the world, they find solace in self-care activities like yoga, gardening, and drinking tea. A lot of Ukrainians, they tell the BBC, believe they should suffer in solidarity with others, so being happy has become taboo during the war. Feeling compelled to take a stand, I ended all of my relationships with any Russians because I'm angry and not ready to continue them, says Larissa, a 20-something psychology student whose name has been changed. Since the invasion started, many relationships have been ruined and there has been a widespread rise in anti-Russian sentiment. They call it splitting or black and white thinking in psychology, and even the therapists admit they're susceptible. It looks to me like there's a crack down the middle of those two seats. And I have to pick a side so I don't get broken up, Svetlana says. Some of my Russian coworkers I had to let go because I simply couldn't cooperate with their inability to tell good people from bad. It's a sentiment that's shared by many. Another member of the group asks, how can you work with victims if you justify violence? Some therapists have suggested gently that the anger be channeled away from Russian coworkers and toward President Vladimir Putin and the invading army. Others, however, argue that black and white thinking is a survival mechanism that developed to aid people in times of extreme peril. The amygdala region of the brain is like a fire alarm. It is associated with fear and regulates the freeze, run, and fight responses. And it sends signals about life and death, says Larissa. It would appear that being a therapist in a country at war presents a fundamental paradox. How do you make peace with a terrifying and traumatic environment where your defenses may be the only thing keeping you alive if therapy's goal is to break down those defenses so that people can feel things and deal with them? The therapists tell the BBC that online sessions with vulnerable clients are sometimes disrupted by shelling, explosions, and blackouts. However, they are resolved to continue providing a secure environment in which clients can experience and process a wide range of emotions. We will prevail. Svetlana says, I have no weapon but knowledge. All we need is time. And how long that will be, I have no idea. The war will end eventually. However, the impact on mental health may be felt for decades. According to the therapists interviewed by the BBC, they experience some of the same traumatic events as their clients. One of them has just lost her son, she says. However, she has come to understand that as a therapist, you can't take somebody further than you've been yourself, despite the fact that her loss is still fresh and difficult to discuss. To feel empathy, one must first experience pain. As the saying goes, my work is what keeps me going. All of these therapists helped patients for free when the war took their jobs, so they now worry about making ends meet. Ina is relieved to have secured steady employment in her field as a therapist. Because her new job providing crisis services and youth support is so demanding, she has decided to stop coming to these bi-weekly therapist meetings. Because I enjoy what I do so much, working all day does not drain but rather revitalizes me. I was the group leader yesterday, and I got thank you texts until 11 o'clock at night. The majority of Larissa's private psychotherapy practice is offered at no cost to those in greatest need, but she supplements her income as a photo editor for international magazines and brands. She says, "Thank goodness we had some savings from before the war, and my husband is solidly employed, because it cost us a pretty penny to run my therapy business and pay for all the supervision while I was getting nothing in return." The therapists recognize the significance of their work and seek to increase their income in order to help more people, both civilians and soldiers, who are in need of their services. This is what separates us from our enemies. For Larissa, showing humanity means providing a safe haven for those in need.